Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 30th January 2022. Okay, which are the important articles? Let's see. These are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, largely they relate to our prelims examination. That's why today we have shifted. And first we will discuss these important articles related to prelims examination. As it is Sunday's newspaper, two important pages. First, science and technology page and FAQ page. As the important articles from science and technology, they are relevant today. So we'll discuss them. Along with that, magazine supplement is there. Art and culture, very important articles, they appear in magazine news, we can say supplement of Sunday's newspaper. So we have taken some inputs from that supplement also. For example, this first one, Chalukya dynasty. So on page number 3 of that magazine supplement, there is one book review and which talks about the contribution of this Chalukya dynasty to the culture of Deccan region. Okay, so we will try to find out everything about Chalukya dynasty, about the different kings in their dynasty from 6th century to 12th century. And along with that, what is the architectural contribution they have done, the temple architecture of Badami and Padakkal. Okay, so this is important from history as well as art and culture. Okay, now use of externment order with caution. Now Supreme Court has said in one of the ruling here that the externment which results into a prohibition or prevention of enjoyment of fundamental right under Article 19, that is freedom of movement. The externment means simply not allowing a particular person for the movement for a particular time period. Okay, so it restricts the movement of the person and it does not allow that person to enjoy certain fundamental rights like right to livelihood also that may be violated. Also, the person may not be able to live with the family. So that's why such kind of, let's say, orders of externment, the authorities should consider this as, we can say, whenever such authorities are giving this order of externment to any person, they should be exceptional. Okay, and the reasonable restrictions, whatever the grounds they are providing here for the externment, they should be reasonable. We will try to find out about this fundamental right also and which are the reasonable restrictions on this fundamental right here. Okay, so from polity perspective, it is important. Now, why Omicron is highly transmissible? On page number 10, science and technology page, there is one study which says that the viral load is not responsible for the transmissibility, high transmissibility of this Omicron. Rather, the inherent evasiveness of this Omicron from the, we can say, immunity of that particular person. So this is largely responsible for the spread of this Omicron variant here. So this can be asked again in prelims examination, important terminologies, concepts related to COVID-19. Surely there will be question in prelims examination. Now Asafoetida, now this particular, which is also called as hing in Hindi, and different local languages, they use different kind of terminologies. This is important spice used in Indian kitchens. But yes, it is native to Iran and Afghanistan, largely it is imported in India. And what are the medicinal uses of this particular hing? We can say the spice in Indian kitchens, how the traditional medicine like Ayurveda, they focus on this use of this hing also in their medicine. So it is important from general science perspective. Okay. And then thayyams. Now you can see on photo feature, every Saturday and Sunday, now the Hindu newspaper has come up with this new 2-page supplement, photo features. Largely they give the art and culture, especially from Northeast India and Southern India. They try to highlight the local culture and traditions of certain communities, tribal people. Okay, so like for example, Hill Tiwas of Assam, we had covered a few days back. In that manner, thayyams, these are the dancing rituals, or we can say religious practices in Malabar, Kerala. Okay, and some of the districts of Karnataka also. So it is important from art and culture perspective. Again, there can be question in prelims examination. Okay, so we'll find out some basic information about thayyams. Then on first page, there is good news talking about international relations or from the security perspective. BSF and Pakistan Rangers resume dialogue. Okay, so in few days back, we also talked about how Pakistan Hindu Association or the religious association, they forwarded some request talking about the religious pilgrimage, allowing pilgrimage through air route. Okay, and this proposal is still being scrutinized from the Indian authorities. We'll see what happens there. But now this is the another development where the border security forces of both countries are having resuming talks after 3 years. Last talks, they happened in 2018, and now the talks which are happening here at the border security force level, it is important part of internal security also. Okay, so how this BSF is facing challenges along the border with Pakistan on the northwestern front. Okay, and finally practice prelims MCQs. Let's go into detail. Chalukya dynasty, you can see the map here. The Chalukya dynasty and the kings of Chalukya dynasty, they ruled over this particular region. You can see that the northern boundary is covered by Narmada river, southern boundary by Kaveri river here. And all the Deccan region was ruled by this Chalukyas from 6th to 12th century AD. Okay, during this period, they ruled three related yet individual dynasties. Okay, so from 6th century to 12th century, there were three such Chalukya dynasties. But the major one was the first one, that is also called as Chalukyas of Badami. Okay, now this Chalukyas of Badami, they, let's say, established this particular dynasty. Chalukya dynasty was established by Pulakesin I in 543 AD. Okay, 543 AD. Then Pulakesin I took Vatapi, the modern day Badami in Bagalkot district of Karnataka, under his control and made it capital. Okay, so there can be Chalukyas of Vatapi. Vatapi is now modern day, we can say Badami in Bagalkot. So that's why they are called as Chalukyas of Badami also. Badami temples or architecture very famous. So we'll also know about that. Pulkesin II, the most well-known emperor of Badami dynasty. We all know about Pulkesin II, we learn in history. He defeated Harsha. Okay, Harsha's invasion over Chalukyas during Pulkesin II successfully repelled by this particular king. And it is one of the major defeat of Harsha, because Harsha during the medieval time period, he was the dominant king. Harshavardhana rule in the northern India. Okay, so Pulkesin II extended the Chalukya empire up to northern extent of Pallava kingdom and halted the southward march of Harsha by defeating him on the banks of river Narmada. Okay. Then Badami Chalukya dynasty went into brief decline following the death of Pulkesin II due to internal feuds when Badami was occupied by Pallavas for a period of 13 years, for a brief period of time. But later on, you can see it recovered during the reign of Vikramaditya I, who succeeded pushing the Pallavas out of Badami and restoring the order to the empire. Okay, so Vikramaditya I, after Pulkesin I, Pulkesin II, then Vikramaditya I. And then the empire was at its peak again during the rule of illustrious Vikramaditya II. Vikramaditya II, who is known for not only his repeated invasions of the territory of Tondai Mandalam and his subsequent victories over Pallava Nandivarman II, but also his benevolence towards the people and monuments of Kanchipuram, Pallava capital. Okay, then the last Chalukya king was Kirtivarman II. So you can see the name Pulakesin I, II, Vikramaditya I, II, and then Kirtivarman I, II. The Kirtivarman II was the last king overthrown by Rashtrakuta king Danti Durga in 753. Now we all know that Danti Durga, he established this Rashtrakuta dynasty in Deccan. Rashtrakuta dynasty, famous Ellora Our Kailash temple is built by Rashtrakuta dynasty kings. Okay, so in Maharashtra near Aurangabad district. Now, Chalukyas of Kalyani, now second dynasty among the Chalukyas. The Chalukyas revived their fortunes in 973 after over 200 years of dormancy when much of the Deccan was under the rule of Rashtrakutas. So you can see that this time period was ruled by the Rashtrakutas, and then again Chalukyas ruled revived. Okay, so Tailappa II, the Rashtrakuta feudatory ruling from Tardavadi, overthrew Karka II and established Chalukya rule in the western Deccan. Okay, western Deccan, and recovered most of the Chalukya empire. Okay, this western Chalukyas, they are actually Chalukyas of Kalyani. They ruled for over 200 years and were in constant conflict with Cholas and with their cousins eastern Chalukyas of Vengi. Okay, so the western Chalukya period was an important age of development of Kannada literature and Sanskrit literature. Okay, now Chalukyas of Vengi or eastern Chalukyas, they are called as eastern Chalukyas, the third phase. Okay, eastern Chalukyas, the present day Andhra Pradesh and Telangana region. So they ruled over that region, and Telugu literature owes its growth to the eastern Chalukyas. And they were continuously in fight with their cousins western Chalukyas and also the Rashtrakutas. Okay, so this was about the empire. Now about the contribution to art and architecture, we can say architecture of Chalukyas. The style is known as Chalukyan architecture or Karnataka Dravida style. Okay, so you can see that the temples at Palakkad districts, Pattadakal district, sorry. Yes, most of their temple building activity was concentrated in the heartland of Chalukya Empire at Aihole, Badami, Pattadakal and Mahukuta in the modern day Karnataka state. Okay, so the early phase began with cave temples. Many cave temples were, we can say, there in Aihole and Badami. The second phase of temple building was at Aihole and Badami. For example, Ladkhand temple. This Ladkhand temple, this is the photograph of Ladkhand temple. You can see the architecture. And the structural temples of Pattadakal, built in the 8th century, now UNESCO World Heritage Site, marks the culmination and mature phase of Badami Chalukya architecture. These two photos are of the temple complex of Pattadakal. Okay, this is World Heritage Site, UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are total 10 temples at Pattadakal complex, 6 in the southern Dravida style and 4 in the northern Nagara style. Okay, you can see that this is Nagara style actually. Okay, so in this manner you should understand Chalukyas had the influence of both Dravida style of architecture as well as Nagara style of architecture. Okay, yes, fine. Now moving on, use externment orders with caution. Supreme Court, while hearing one of the case about the DM order, one of the district magistrate's order regarding externment. Okay, so this externment, yes, Supreme Court has held that person cannot be barred by authorities from entering a place on mere suspicion. The court said authorities can pass an order of externment against a person only under extraordinary circumstances. Okay, so there should be extraordinary circumstances, and on the basis of mere suspicion, the person should not be having externment. Externment means suppose the person should not be allowed to enter into city premises. ऐसा होता है ना कि habitual offenders होते हैं, ठीक है, तो वो habitual offenders को allow नहीं करते हैं city में आने के लिए. For let's say suppose there is important event is going to happen, so such kind of externment is done here. Okay, so this discretion should be used very sparingly as it deprived the person of his and her right to free movement in the country. Also, The external person may not be even able to stay with his family or home. Also, it possibility would deprive the person of his livelihood. ठीक है? So we all know that Article 19(1)(d) talks about the fundamental right to move freely throughout the territory of India. Okay, so freedom of movement. But this freedom of movement comes with some reasonable restriction, and this particular order should pass the, let's say, test of reasonableness. Okay, so talking about the basic provisions of the Constitution, the ground of imposing reasonable restrictions on this freedom are two grounds: interests of the general public and the protection of interest of any scheduled tribe. Okay, so restriction on entering into certain tribal areas can be there, like inner line permit in some of the northeastern states is there. Okay, so that is, we can say, a restriction on freedom of movement, the reasonable restriction. And general public, for example, freedom of movement of prostitutes, this can be restricted on the ground of public health and public morality. Okay, so this, and then along with that, Bombay High Court has validated restriction on the movement of persons affected by AIDS also. Again, we can say public health, the concern. Okay, so you should remember this for prelims examination. This can be asked in the prelims examination from polity part. Now, why is Omicron so highly transmissible? Okay, so earlier we came to know that high viral load is responsible for Omicron, high Omicron transmissibility. But the new study has shown a different, we can say, reasons here. The early studies suggested that extremely high transmissibility was probably due to high viral load in the infected person. However, the new study has found that viral load is nearly the same with Omicron and Delta variants. Another study has found breakthrough infection caused by the Delta variant had lower number of virus particles than unvaccinated people with Delta infection. Okay, so Delta infection में ज़्यादा ये हम देख रहे हैं viral load. In the case of Omicron, the number of virus particle in the vaccinated individuals with Omicron infection was comparable with individuals with Delta breakthrough infections. Okay, so simply we should understand that the viral load is more or less similar. The extreme high rate at which the Omicron is spreading might be due to inherent immune escape capabilities than the high viral load. This is the observation made in the new studies. Okay, so it is not because of increase in viral load, rather it is because of, this is the capacity of Omicron variant to evade the immune system or capabilities of that person. That's why it is, the more and more people are getting infected here. Transmissibility. Okay, so remember this for prelims examination. Now, Asafoetida. Now, Asafoetida is actually also known as hing in Hindi. There are different names like ingua in Telugu, ingu in Kannada. Okay, now this is dried latex or gum excluded from the rhizome or tap root of several species of ferula trees. Okay, this is perennial herb growing up to 1 or 1.5 meter tall. In English, it is sometimes called as devil's dung. Okay, devil's dung इसलिए बोला जाता है कि वो उसका smell जो है वो सल्फाइड कंटेंट की वजह से पंजेंट स्मेल आता है उसका. ठीक है, पंजेंट स्मेल. We all know, we know about hing in our households itself, our family members, mother, they use this in while cooking the dishes. Okay, so species are native to deserts of Iran and mountains of Afghanistan. See, why we are learning this? Because last year in prelims examination there was question about oil palm. Oh, there was one statement in that question, oil palm is native to Southeast Asia. Now, if this statement can be framed, so different types of crops, or simply we can say agriculture products, whether they are native to India or not, you should be aware about that. They are native to deserts of Iran and Afghanistan, largely India imports from Afghanistan this particular crop. Okay, substantial amount are grown. Now, cold desert climatic conditions in Lahul and Spiti area of Himachal Pradesh are remarkably similar to those in Iran and Afghanistan. So that's why the efforts are being done to grow this particular crop in that area. Okay, so farmers are being incentivized there to adopt these practices, and successfully there are, let's say, instances of growth of this particular crop in that region. Okay, इसका pungent spell जो है sulfide content की वजह से होता है, but odor dissipates upon cooking in cooked dishes. Okay, it has wide range of applications in the field of medicine. For example, it is suggested to fight the virus such as influenza, and that's why it is in news. COVID-19 influenza virus, and that's why, yes, to treat that virus, sometimes this has become important part of traditional medicine. Also, Ayurveda suggests it for good digestion, and then it is known for stopping hiccups also. ठीक है, उसके लिए कुछ लोगों को बहुत ज़्यादा हिकअप्स आते हैं, राइट? सो एंड वी नो दैट देर इज नो नेचुरल वी कैन से cure for this hiccups, and it is said that when this hing or this Asafoetida, when used with some butter and then when it is ingested, then simply the hiccup stops. So it is proved benefits medical applications of this particular crop. So question can be there about this nativeness, and we can say that from roots this particular dried latex is removed. Okay, so which part of the plant species it is used? Tap root. Okay, fine. Now moving on, Thayyam. Okay, so this is popular ritual form of dance worship in Kerala and Karnataka. In Kerala, it is very famous in, we can say, Malabar districts of Kerala, North Malabar districts. Okay, you can see the photograph here. Red color, the people or those who are performing, they themselves become deities. They are called as Thayyams. Okay, so the Thayyam consists of 1,000-year-old tradition, rituals, and customs. The people of these districts consider Thayyam itself as a channel to God, and they thus seek blessings from Thayyam. Okay, there are many photographs on those 2 pages in the Hindu newspaper. You can see those photographs. The people are taking blessings from Thayyam there. Thayyam is performed by males except the Devakutu Thayyam. The Devakutu Thayyam is only Thayyam ritual performed by women. That means this Thayyam is not always performed by male only. There is one Thayyam which is only performed by female. Okay. Now in Kerala, Thayyam is performed predominantly in North Malabar. Also this dance is performed in front of village shrine, and there are no stages or, let's say, other arrangements for the performance. Simply it is happening in the open space, and the devotees are gathering around in that region. There are about 456 types of Thayyams. Among them 112 are very famous, frequently performed. Okay, so this is part of art and culture, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, largely Kerala. Okay, next, BSF Pakistan Rangers resume dialogue. So this is again good development between these 2 countries, which saw some kind of tensions between the relations, bilateral relations. After 3 years, the border guarding forces of India and Pakistan have revived sector commander level talks. Also in those talks, recently held talks on 5th January, Indian let's say counterpart or BSF, it has raised the concern about drones. Around 70 drones were spotted last year, and 2 of them were shot down. Dropping of arms and ammunition from these unmanned air vehicles is one of the biggest challenge faced by the BSF in recent times. Okay, so along with that, what are the challenges along the India-Pakistan border, along the northwest front? So yes, the border in Jammu and Kashmir, border in Punjab, border in Rajasthan and Gujarat, they have different challenges. especially talking about Jammu and Kashmir, the infiltration attempts from the Pakistani side, regular recovery of arms, and yes, ammunition, narcotics. This is common. We see the internal security challenges in Jammu and Kashmir. Also in Punjab region, the BSF faces challenge related to drug trafficking that is happening, arms trafficking that is happening in that region. And then Rajasthan and Gujarat, you can see there, Rajasthan is largely peaceful border, but again, human trafficking is common there. Refugee movement is very common there. Gujarat, fishermen issue is there, drug trafficking, arm trafficking, again, that is major concern along the Gujarat border. ओके काउंटरफीट करेंसी वो भी हम यहाँ पे ऐड कर सकते हैं ओके व्हाट शुड बी आंसर टू दिस क्वेश्चन Okay, so how to approach to this question? We are talking about Thayyam. We have to find the correct statements, right? So first statement, it is a popular ritual form of dance worship in Kerala. This is correct statement, right? The second, it is talking about it is only performed by the males. This is incorrect, right? It is rather also performed by females. One of them is performed by females also. So we can use logic also. Generally only in the statement it is incorrect statement we can use and take risk also. There is no stage for performance. So this is also correct statement. So 1 and 3 is correct and 2 is incorrect. So answer should be here 1 and 3 C. Okay, so in this manner we can approach to this question here. Fine. Okay, so these were important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Fine.